Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I am so glad you decided to join me today to talk about all the books I read in the month of July. All right, in the month of July, I read a total of 9 books. It was a very good reading month for me. A lot of them were on my physical TBR also, so that was a huge bonus. We're just going to go through and talk about them. This one might not be quite as long because I have been doing some more reading vlogs lately, and so a lot of these books, I have a lot more in detailed thoughts in those reading vlogs, so I'm not going to talk too much if a book is already in a reading vlog. But without further ado, let's just get into it. Starting with the first book that I finished in the month of July, and that was an arc that I read called Not Our First Rodeo by Madison Wright. This is a cowboy ranch romance, and it is about a already married couple kind of like finding their way back to each other. I enjoyed this one quite a bit. I gave this one a 3.75 stars. It did have some content in it, though, that I wanted to just highlight for those of you that I know like to know the content like me. So, this is technically considered a closed door romance, but this does have two quite descriptive fade to black scenes. So I don't personally prefer that, and that's one of the bigger reasons that this was only a 3.75 stars and I couldn't give it above the 3-star range. Um, and so if you're like me and you don't prefer that, might not be the book for you. There was a lot of things that I liked about this book, even with that, but I did have to like skim and skip over some because it was too descriptive for me, even though it was only fade to black in this. Along with that, there is sexual innuendos and some light sexual descriptions used, and part of that is just because it is following a married couple who, they're married. They've already been intimate within their marriage and stuff like that. So there is some talk and things brought up surrounding that. So just be aware of that because I know some people don't like any sexual innuendos and stuff like that. This does have that stuff in it. Along with that, cussing is not excessive within this book, but it is pretty like throughout the book. It's not just like one or two words here and there, and there are also at least 2 F bombs that I caught in this book also. And then there's a lot of heavy subject matter talked about and dealt with in this book. So if you're interested to know what those are, I would say miscarriage, grief, anxiety, panic attacks, parental neglect, and estrangement, if I can say the word, and along with body image issues, which that was another reason why this didn't get higher for me because I just personally didn't love how much of the book was kind of the girl focused or talking about so much of like the body image issues. She was a dancer up until semi previously. So, there can be a lot of body image issues with that, but not a bad book at all. I'm not entirely against trying to check out more from this author. If all of her books are very much like on the line, fade to black, she probably won't be for me, but I felt like I'd heard some of her other ones were not fade to black. So I think maybe just some of them are. Not positive on that, but it was still a nice read. And if fade to black doesn't bother you, or, because I know there's a lot of readers here who are just closed door, they're fine with it. Different stuff bothers different people, different description levels, all that stuff. So I'm sure somebody would really, really enjoy this. I enjoyed the whole country theme also, but yeah, that was the first book that I finished up this month. All right, the second book that I read was Dragon Teeth by Michael Crichton. This one was interesting. It was not what I thought it was going to be, that's for sure. I did end up just giving this one a 3 stars. Not insanely high, but what are you going to do? I think I have a little bit of this one in a reading vlog, but I don't think I finished it in a reading vlog. So this is kind of about like an archaeological dig basically for dinosaur bones. And I guess knowing a lot of Crichton's work, he does a lot of like thriller type of stuff, but this was not a thriller. And I don't even know if it's categorized as a thriller. This was very much a historical fiction Western type of setting, which is not really my type of book to begin with. So there's that. It wasn't bad. I enjoy Michael's writing in general, so I wasn't like completely bored, but I was definitely a lot less interested in this one and was slugging through at some parts. There were definitely parts that gripped me back in and, that got me to keep going. But just all in all, it was an okay book. If you're more into historical fiction westerns, you might really like it a lot more than I did. But this was not a Crichton book that was particularly for me. And for anybody who hasn't read Crichton before, he does cuss in his books. I don't think it's normally like crazy excessive, but it is pretty much always there. So, and then the next book that I read was fully in a reading vlog. So I will link that vlog uh, down below or somewhere here so that you guys can check out more personalized thoughts on these next few books. But that first one in that vlog was Killer Instinct by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This is the second in the Naturals series. It is a YA mystery thriller series, and it's described as Criminal Minds but with like teenagers. So I feel like that's a pretty good description. This one is following another character, one of the other teens basically, besides the main one that you like see from her perspective, kind of more of their backstory. And I enjoyed it quite well. I will say, even though it is YA, I think it keeps to like the YA theme for the most part, but there is a point of view from the serial killer that you get throughout the book, these little like you parts. So if that's something you really would not be comfortable with, it might not be the series for you. Although I do know some people who have just kind of like skipped over them and been like, I still found enjoyment without ever reading them. So you could also do that. But and it does have it. This one did have like a little, we got more of this little love triangle that's been happening, and I really enjoyed that in the book. So would not expect to have like a little bit of romance in this type of series, but I enjoyed it. I gave this one a 4.25 stars. If I forgot to say that, sorry. But yeah, if you want a little bit more in detailed thoughts, um, that reading the vlog. Next book that I read also in that vlog was My Way, Follow in the Dark Book 2 by Ashley Al Salaby. This is a Christian YA fiction, and it follows 4 different girls and their journeys, like going through different things. It is very, very good. I gave this one a 4.75 stars, and again, I rave about it a lot in that reading vlog. So if you want more in detailed thoughts, head on over there. But just know I absolutely love and adore this one, and I would highly recommend it. I believe the series is recommended for 13 and up teenage girls, like age range. And I kind of thought that some of the subject matter might be more 14 and up. I think it just might depend on the girl and maturity level. So. Next, also in that reading vlog was You Belong With Me by Mari McFarlane. McFarlane? That's not how. Vari McFarlane. It's it's Scottish and it's pronounced differently. Sorry. This is one of Haley Pham's like favorite authors, so I was really excited to try her out. What I did not look much into was the fact that I guess apparently a couple of her books are listed as light/some spice. And when I was like looking more into this, I realized it's not all, it's only like a couple. Some of them do say no spice. So, but I did not pick up one that said no spice. So I might still try one that said no spice, just to kind of see if I enjoy that one a lot better. But because I didn't hate this one, I was intrigued in the story. I was very interested and I liked it, but there was a little bit of spice and some stuff that I had to skip over, along with some cussing and stuff. In this book. So, yeah, she is a secular author, but I'm not completely against trying to check out one that is spice free. If you want a little bit more details, go check out that reading vlog. But I only gave this a 2.75 because of the content that was found in it. So, all right. And then the next book that I read in that reading vlog was The Silent Songbird by Melanie Dickerson. This is a Christian fairy tale retelling, kind of like historical fantasy type of thing. Well, not fantasy, I guess. Maybe just like historical, I don't know, retelling. Whatever. It's a retelling of like The Little Mermaid, has kind of some like crossovers of that. Again, full thoughts on the reading vlog, but I did give this one a 4 stars. I actually very much surprisingly enjoyed it a lot. I've only read one other by Melanie Dickerson. I didn't hate it, but I didn't like love it. And this one I definitely feel like I enjoyed a lot more. So I'm a little bit more intrigued to check out more by her in the future. But yeah, this one was really, really good. And yeah, the next book that I read and finished in the month of July was A Place to Hang the Moon by Kate Albus. I also have a dedicated review vlog for this one because this was a subscriber pick from one of my booktube friends here, Whitney Marie Reads. And so I really, really enjoyed this one. This was a great pick from her. I'm so glad she picked it, and I'm so glad that I picked it from my jar this month. It's a middle grade historical fiction, a bit slower paced than I expected it to be, but still like really, really enjoyed it. Kind of Narnia slash series of unfortunate events vibes mixed together. Um, it was just really enjoyable. I gave this one a 4.5 stars, and if you want to hear a little bit more about it, go check out that vlog. All right, and then the next book that I finished and read in the month of July was How to Win Friends and Influence Enemies by Will Witt. This is taking on liberal arguments with logic and humor. This is a political nonfiction book, and I actually started reading this in June, I think right at the beginning of June, and I finished it up right a little bit before the end of July here. So it was fine. I think I gave this one a 3 stars. No, I gave this one a 3.5 stars, excuse me. And it was interesting, but I don't think it was like anything real special, just a lot of simple, basic points. It's basically got different like conversation topics, and some is like freedom of speech, police brutality, family values, stuff like that. And he just kind of goes through different events and different like things that have happened, and then different talking points of that. And yeah, it was very like basic and simple, though, kind of like just a starting point roadmap, I guess, for you. Not like a ton of new information for me personally, but I mean, it was a fine read. I just think it's very much like a basic, simplistic type of starting point for that. So if that's something you're interested in, if you're not, I understand a lot of people don't like politics, so I'm kind of a weirdo in that aspect. But yeah. And then finally, the last and final book that I finished up here in the month of July was The Girl Who Drank the Moon by Kelly Barnhill. So this is a middle grade fantasy book. It was quite different than what I expected it to be. I'm not really sure what I expected, but it surprised me. I give this a 4 star rating. I quite enjoyed it. And it does follow this little girl, Luna, and it actually follows her from when she's a baby all the way up till most of the story takes place like between the ages of her being like 11 and 13, I think. And then we even see a little bit beyond that also. So there's kind of this lore of a witch in the woods who takes this town's babies every year as a sacrifice. And then this whole like lore and story from that just unravels. There's so many layers, there's so many connections with different characters that I just loved. And I was like so surprised by how intricately this was all woven together, and just how much more to the story there was than I thought there was going to be. I think it was quite well done. This is, witch magic. It's got kind of obviously magic elements, so I know some people just don't like to read that at all. Honestly, it wasn't like super like dark or like nasty type of magic for me at all. I enjoyed it. And there was also some like weird possible biblical themes. Like there were things that I saw and read and I was like, "Huh, that's kind of like what Genesis says or what, like but changing the words for this like fantasy world." So I'm not sure if the author was trying to do that or if I'm seeing something there that she wasn't meaning to be there. I'm not sure, but I did see a couple of like little elements of that throughout. So that was interesting. Take with that what you will. But yeah, that is the last book that I finished up in July. All right, guys. So those were the 9 books that I read this July. Let me know in the comments down below if you've read any of these books and what you think of them. And please let me know also what was your favorite book that you read in the month of July. I think my favorite by far was My Way by Ashley Al Salaby. I just adored this book. So, yeah, let me know, guys. I hope to see you guys in my next video, and I hope you guys have a lovely rest of your week and happy reading. Bye.